All right, Road to Glory, week two prediction and week one recap. So let's go over the standings um and last week's matchup results, and then we'll get into we have some trade talk. We got some waivers to talk about, and then we'll get into the week two predictions. So, okay. So standings. One weekend. Um, I will say overall, it didn't feel like it was like a truly like high scoring week. I think like the highest scoring receiver was Quentin Johnson. I could be wrong, but it just didn't feel like it was like a high scoring week. Obviously, McGill sitting at the top with 175. Fantastic start to the season for you. Um, I don't know if it was last year too, but I don't know. Just feels like week one kind of got off to a not so high scoring start, but we had McGill, Mirando, Galigo, Japes, and Andrew all pulled out their first win of the season. So good job, you guys, for having a good week one. I know that there's a good amount of injuries that we have already seen from a couple teams. So Um, so yeah, I'm just looking at the moves and I see Japes is already at 27. Um, and then obviously some of us just fell flat. I know Brett, 161 obviously, would have been good enough against a lot of other teams. Just the luck of the matchup, I guess. So yeah, all right. So let's get into last week. I want to say I almost got everyone matchup wrong. So let me just take a look. I want to see. I'm going to keep track of my records. Okay. So I picked myself, so Owen won there. Um, I picked Evan over McGill, 0-2 there. I did pick Mirando. Okay, so 1-2. I did, oh, I did pick Andrew. Okay, so 2-2. And then I did pick Ethan over Japes in that close one, so 2-3. Not a great start. I actually thought I did worse, but it's 2-3 start to the season. So let's go over through the week one matchups. Me and Galigo. Kind of a slow start for my team, obviously. Wasn't ideal. Just didn't have any like high scoring Um, honestly, point getters, even, with a couple people scoring, just didn't really have that explosion. But gonna have to play the long run, I guess. Burrow and Chase were kind of kept in check. I feel like that's kind of a usual occurrence on week one for that team, especially versus the Browns over the past couple years. Um, so I can't say I'm really surprised, but definitely disappointing. But hopefully they'll rebound in week two. Terry and DJ Moore are kind of quiet too. I actually did, I actually did expect this from Terry just because of some of the research I did with his struggles versus the Giants. Plus, Debo did look good. I'll admit it. Um, Not worried about Jacobs and Kyron. Kelsey kind of bailed me out with the touchdown at the end, and Jalen Warren. But all overall, not really a great scoring week. I know I had some bench players score, yeah. Galigo, I thought Galigo was in trouble. I'll be honest with AJ Brown and Saquon after that Thursday night game, but held in there. Yeah, and Jaden Daniels with 20. DK with 9, Waddle with 6. Um, I was pissed when Bucky scored that touchdown. I was pissed. McBride had 9. Fairbairn and the defense were definitely the killers. I know you won by a lot, but um, those two definitely killed. And then also Miles Garrett, just because I feel like they all just his especially I'm pretty sure they all just came on the same drive too. Um, so that sucked. But yeah, good week for Galigo, especially with that kind of slow Thursday night start. So good win there. And then Evan changed his name, I guess. Um, First McGill. We had Bo with 9. I was actually shocked just because they were at home. I Tennessee hung in there. I mean, Cam Ward, I mean, I won't say they played bad. Um, Denver's got a good defense, obviously. We just saw Nico, Neighbors, and BTJ were kind of held in check. Um, Cook had a good game. He had that, what was it like, what was it, 5 reception? Oh, 40. All right, yeah, because I was gonna say he had like a 51-yard catch that they gave credit to Josh Allen, which was kind of odd. Um, I didn't know Travion still had 12. That's not bad. Laporta had some garbage time stats. I saw Tyler Loop, so good kicker and defense production, good linebacking production. But McGill's Sunday night game, absolutely backbreaking. Lamar, no surprise at what he was able to do. Quiet from Devontae and Tet, but Zay Flowers coming out of the woodworks. I mean, honestly, when you look at his situation, like he should be able to produce stats like that. I mean, like he's by far their number one receiver. It's just so weird how last year Lamar can have a year like that and Zay Flowers only have like 4 touchdowns. It just doesn't make sense. But he should be able to produce stuff like that. CMC, he looked really good, 21 without a touchdown, 9 receptions. We'll see how that offense looks without Kittle and maybe Purdy. I still kind of think he'll play. Um, Jonathan Taylor, I expected him to score. I was kind of shocked with that. And then Kincaid looked good. He had that opening drive touchdown, couple catches there in the second half. But when he's healthy, he's a top target for them. The lines were just completely held in check. Boswell, 14, he's still really reliable. Hamilton was a stud. But yeah, that Sunday night game was a killer. So McGill's in first. McGill had really good bench production as well. So that's always a good sign. And then we got our was it the closest matchup? A couple close matchups, yeah. Um, Orlando had a Monday night scare from Brett with the Aaron Jones experience. So this was a 2-point difference basically between these two. So Brett had Kyler, who had 18, so a good game from Kyler. Um, Good stack production, I guess, from Marvin too. He had a nice touchdown. Um, Mike Evans had 8. Obviously, we saw Ibuka with the 2 touchdowns. Obviously, Brett has him as well. Shaheed had 9. Genti did get in the end zone. Aaron Jones had that big receiving touchdown, and then Bowers was on pace. Looked like for a good game, and then he had like was it a knee injury? Turpin had 8.15. Definitely good production from Cam Little and the Rams defense. Nixon with 6. Travis Hunter in his debut had 8.7. Um, and then obviously on the bench, we know Brett had Ibuka, Debo, and Breece Hall, who all three had really solid outings. Um, so that brings us to Miranda. Hurts had that big performance last week with the two rushing touchdowns. London had 8 catches. I saw he came up injured. Garrett Wilson, uh, say was a surprise. With how well they played against the Steelers. Obviously Pickens was kind of held in check. So was Gibbs, but Gibbs had 10 catches. That's nuts. Um, yeah, they were held in check. And then Achane had the Dolphins' only touchdown. I know Evan Ingram came up hurt. I just didn't expect much from the Titans in this game, if I'm being honest. Um, yeah, it looks like Julian Love at 13 and a half. Okereke had 11 and a half. Javonte Williams at 20. But Miranda getting out with the win there. Then we had Andrew kind of pull off a miracle versus Nihil. Baker at 22, he played well. CD looked like he was on pace to exceed like at least 20 points. Um, but obviously they kind of fizzled out. He had some huge drops in that game, like actually huge drops. Puka got hurt like twice in this game. He came back, he had 10 for 130. We saw Xavier Worthy, he dislocated his shoulder. I know that they weren't gonna go surgery. So I'm gonna say week to week with him. Chase Brown did score. So did Chuba. Chuba had that receiving touchdown on the fourth, I think. And then Kittle was on pace, it looked like for a monster game, and then he goes out on IR. Pisser for me too, because I have him in one of my leagues. Pisser. Um, so he's gonna be on IR for a while. Jerry Jeudy had 5 catches for 66. Carlson had 11. And then he even had Baltimore's defense with -3, two people with 0, three people with 0, and a -3 defense. Um, I'll be honest, Drake did not look great. He did not look great. JSN had 9 for 124. Then we had the Dolphins, probably the worst looking team of the week. Um, I do actually think Tyreek will bounce back versus the Patriots, unfortunately. I know that there are trade rumors going around about him. I know a lot of people are saying Kansas City, um, which I have seen. The team that I've actually seen most, though, is Pittsburgh, which would be an interesting fit. Um, and then T. Higgins was held in check. Bijan, 6 catches for 100 yards. He had that huge like screen for a touchdown, I think, in the first quarter. And then James Conner should have a good matchup again this week versus the Panthers, I think. Yeah. What else? Bosa had 13 and a half. Ernest Jones with 11 and a half, but Andrew somehow still won. So unfortunate for Nihil. Um, which moves us to another close game that came down to Monday night as well. Obviously, Ethan had kind of came back and pulled out the lead thanks to none other than the great squash. 394, two rush, two pass. Um, Amon Ra held in check. Myers is going to be a really, I think, reliable target for Gino on that team. So I think he's in a good spot. Lad, the Chargers look good. Um, I think Lad will be, a really good option going forward. I know that Keenan Allen and Quentin Johnson still scored, but there'll be plenty of opportunities for him. Kamara scored. We know Charbonnet or Ben Charbonneau did score for the Seahawks, which is a bit alarming. Tyler Warren looked really good in his debut. He had 7 for 76. So I like him value-wise moving forward. Pollard held in check. I kind of saw that happening. Um, and then Pittsburgh, this shocked me. I didn't expect Fields to go off like that, but he did. So Jeeps had Mahomes had 26, um, 258, one rush touchdown. We'll see what happens now. Who they playing Philly this week. Um, how their game plan will be without Worthy now. So it should be what Hollywood, Juju, hopefully Kelsey. But they're gonna need to be able to, I think, effectively run the ball to win versus Philly. Jettis, big touchdown. I was rooting for him in another league too. So that was a huge touchdown. And then Cortland Sutton, I think he's gonna be really reliable this year. He should be a touchdown machine. And then Slick Rick, 4 for 108. He had that huge clutch bomb in the fourth. I think on their game-winning drive too. Um, we'll see. We'll have to keep an eye on Purdy's health. And then King, bro, King did King things. 169, two rush TDs, looked absolutely unstoppable until he fumbled, but could have had a 30 bomb from King. And then Hampton was kind of held in check. They were more effective passing the ball. And then Mark Andrews, yeah, I'm not sure about him. Um, Maybe he had PTSD from last year. I don't know. But yeah, definitely King, Mahomes, Sutton, definitely big carriers for Japes there. Um, we did see Bill score. Bill did score. Um, but yeah, so let's go to transactions and trades. Obviously, we have we'll rather say controversial trade. I think the league would agree classifying that as. Um, so obviously here we had a trade between Brett and Galigo. Galigo is giving up wide receiver Wandale Robinson and DeAndre Swift. Brett's giving Galigo, or no, Galigo's giving Brett those two. Brett is giving Galigo the Aaron Jones experience and Mike Evans. Um, okay. Thoughts? Um, I will say Brett definitely did offer, I think, most teams a trade for Mike Evans. Um, Brett tried playing to my emotions. Was so dude, I literally hit accept, and then I don't know. Brett offered me ETN or Big Mike for ETN. I don't know. Something about it. I don't know. I like ETN, bro. I'm a buyer this year. I'm a buyer this year. That's why I picked him. Um, but Brett, definitely a good trade. Um, that you offered. I think you offered, I would say, some pretty fair trades, even though a lot of people think this one is definitely lopsided. Um, just based on what I read in the group chat. Um, I will say, I know he offered a trade to me. Obviously, he offered one to Galigo. I think he offered one to Japes for Hampton, maybe. I think Ethan might have been in the mix. I'm trying to think of who else might have been. I don't know. I can't remember. Um, Obviously, Brett has Ibuka. Um, Obviously, Brett has Ibuka, so I can understand why he didn't want to have both of them. which is reasonable, I think. Do I think Brett could have potentially gotten more? Yes. But I do get when Brett said like, he had offered people good trades. Um, but he wasn't sure if um, if people were actually valuing Mike Evans. I think for me personally, like just I'm saying in my trade, I think if I had another week, maybe I know Brett wanted to, kind of get him moving now. Um, I think I would have had a clear decision. Because I didn't really decline the trade. I didn't decline the trade until their trade was already accepted. Like obviously it was something that I was gonna think about for a little while. Um, I don't know. I just kind of like ETN's spot now with Bixby traded, and then I like how Liam Cohen is using him and how he was good for Bucky last year on the Bucks. So that was just my kind of thought process. If it backfires, then another bad move on my part. But what are you gonna do? Um, so I'll have to take a look at what both of these teams look like now. Um, with these players being added. So we did have some good amount of waivers. Let's see. Should bring us here. Harold Fannin to Evan, James Hollywood Brown, on defense, Justin Fields, Hunter Henry, Cup, Jeeps with Herbert, Jeeps with Chubb, Jeeps with Devin White. Oh, you prick. So mad. Evan with Calvin Austin, Juwan Johnson to Miranda, Quentin Johnson to Japes, Sean Booty to Japes for Quentin Johnson, Danny Dimes to Evan, Jared Goff to Evan for Daniel Jones, and then you picked up JJ for off too. What is going on here? And then Booty dropped, and then okay, all right. Okay, interesting. A lot of moves there. But let's get into this week's matchups. I did see Yahoo picked, I believe, check on my phone again. Um, I believe Yahoo picked the matchup of the week to be McGill versus Andrew. Yep. Well, teams are 1-0, right? Yeah, so um big week here. Me versus Big Papa Japes. Um, Need a big bounce back week. So we have Burrow and Jamu versus the Jags. Bad defense versus bad defense. I need it. Absolutely need it this week. Um, got two big players going tomorrow. Terry and Jacobs. Hopefully get some scoring in there. Same with the Bears versus Lions and the return of Ben Johnson to Detroit. Kyron at Tennessee. Love that matchup. Kelsey versus Philly. It's gonna be, I don't know. I'm still not sold on how Kelsey's being implemented in the offense. Dude, low key, like he was open a lot. But Mahomes was kind of like just checking it down to Juju and Hollywood Brown, which kind of blew. Um, so that'll be kind of intriguing. I know Japes is kind of looking at starting, looked like Herb for Mahomes, so maybe Chiefs doesn't have the Mahomes faith this week. Um, and then right now I have ETN in. I think I'm gonna roll with him versus the Bengals, even though that game where the Jags could potentially fall behind, but I like his position. And then Aubrey, obviously we know San Fran's defense I go on first. The Saints. Um, do have some options, but yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with ETN and then Japes right now. He's got Herb in the lineup right now for his squad going against the Raiders. I do like Jettis versus Atlanta. That should be a good game. I know that's Sunday night, I think. Cortland Sutton versus Indy. That'll be an interesting matchup. We'll get to see if Danny Dimes is a fraud or not. Pearsall at New Orleans. We'll see which QB is going to be throwing to him. With Purdy being questionable, will be him or Mac. King Henry looks like we got him home against Cleveland. Cleveland did play a good game last week. Hopefully that front seven can kind of help me out. And then Hampton, I think Hampton should be able to bounce back first the Raiders. Um, and then also I think with Tyrone Tracy as well. I'm not really sold on Mark Andrews as well either. Oh, Devin White, bro, no. Um, okay. All right. You get my picks out. I do like Jefferson Sutton, I won't lie. And Derrick Henry does scare me. How is Jacobs projected 18? I feel like that's a lot. Oh, I'm going me. I'm going me. We need it. We need some luck with the Bengal stack here. Big week, big week. Actually, low key, like my week could be decided tomorrow, actually, with McLaurin and Jacobs. So we might know by tomorrow, actually, how my week might look. But oh, I didn't see you know the kicker either. James could go Bill. He could go Bill if he wanted. Um, dude, I low key hate having Thursday night players. I actually do low key hate it. But I am a homer. I do favor my team, even though we are in last already. Um, so if I lose this week, I might try to reverse jinx, but so Norn eight picking team drip. Sorry, Jeeps. Obviously, I'm biased to my team. I was pretty sure you're not surprised. Um, yeah, we got Galigo versus Nihil. Looks like Jane Daniels, so he's got JD tomorrow versus the Pack. I'm praying that's a shootout. And then AJ, we'll see if AJ bounces back versus the Chiefs. He should see um oh my God, why can I not already think of McDuffie? God. And we have Metcalf versus Seattle. So revenge game. Sorry, my phone's blowing up. And then we got Big Mike in his Galigo debut versus Houston. This is the game where Big Mike's going off versus the Texans. We know that they had a shootout. Was that last year or the year before? I forget what year it was. They low-key had a shootout. Saquon, Super Bowl rematch versus KC, and then we got Bucky. So Glego's got some ammo on Monday night going if he needs it. McBride versus Carolina, and then Waddle. Yeah, I just don't know about Waddle. They are playing the Patriots though, so um, people go off against the Patriots. Fairbairn, another Monday night player. Denver going up against Danny Dimes. Then we got Nihil, Drake versus Miami. Bro, this is the time to show it for Drake. Got you got just dysfunctional Dolphins team, so this is his chance. However, the Patriots do play ass in Miami. Then we got JSN versus Pitt. I'm telling you, Tyreek, this is his week. This is gonna be it. Um, and then T. Higgins versus the Jags is a good matchup. And then we got Bijan Sunday Night Football in Minnesota. Um, Minnesota's defense is pretty stingy, I would say. But I really do like Connor versus Carolina. And then, dude, the Chiefs are going to need to be able to run the ball. So Pacheco and Hunt. I'm kind of hoping Pacheco because I have him as well in another one. And then we have Buffalo do the do the Jets do it again. Um, on the bench. But I think Galigo's got a little bit more ammo. Um, I'm going Galigo this week. Hill versus Galigo, Galigo. We got Evan versus Mirando. This will be a good matchup as well. We got Evan starting JJ, oh boy, versus Atlanta. I mean, it could be a good start actually. Sunday night prime time versus Atlanta. Could be somewhat decent scoring. Um, but I really do like Evans receiving matchup this week. Said that last week, but I do like it this week. I do see the Q next to Neighbors. I don't think I should be concerned about that. But Nico versus Tampa, I do expect scoring in that game. Um, I like Neighbors versus Dallas. And then obviously Cincinnati versus Jacksonville, it's kind of just two bad defenses playing each other. And then Henderson versus Miami should get some opportunity there. James Cook came up questionable today. He was limited. Hopefully he's good to go. Jets, I think will be, I think the Jets, I mean, division games are always tough. Um, we had Charbonnet. I mean, he did score for them last week. Green Bay's defense will be interesting versus Washington. Um, who's sitting Bo and Devontae Smith. Ooh, okay. Interesting, interesting. Miranda, what are we going with? Hurts Super Bowl rematch versus KC. We'll probably see him get two more rushing touchdowns. London versus Minnesota. If he's playing, that's a good matchup for him. Garrett Wilson versus Buffalo. I actually like that as well. I expect them to kind of play from behind. Even though when the two usually play, it is pretty competitive and close. And then Pickens, we'll see if he bounces back versus the Giants. What do we got? Gibbs versus Chicago, okay. And then Achane versus the Pats. I mean, he'll probably have 10 catches that game. Ingram, I'm not sure if he's playing, but Ridley. So I mean, man, the Titans' tough schedule. playing the Rams at home. However, they should be trailing again. Um, they did play the best defense last week. So I expect Ridley to produce a little more. Dallas defense versus the Giants don't have a D lineman in. Did you pick one up? Hmm. This is actually a good matchup. Ooh, I am going. Bro, this is tough. I'm actually gonna go with Evan. Sorry, I'm doing it. I just expect his receivers to bounce back. I do expect them to bounce back, and I think McCarthy played good enough. I think Henderson will get his touches. Same with Cook if he plays. I think what's thrown me off with Mirando, actually, I really don't like Evans' defense. I am kind of um skeptical of that. That was almost like the leaner for me there. Um, I think I need to see more from Pickens. Um, Obviously Evan Ingram, I'm not sure about, and then Ridley because they are playing good teams. I just want to see, another week of Ridley. Um, but just some skepticism there. So I'm going to put in Evan. Okay. We have this is Mirando versus Evan. King, Evan. Okay. All right, moving to matchup of the week. Andrew versus McGill. Obviously we know Andrew has some injuries, but we'll see what he's rolling with. He's got Dak versus the Giants. I do like that. At home, I expect him to definitely perform better. Obviously, you have the stack as well with CD, which could end up benefiting you. And then also with Puka, I think that's a great matchup. If he can actually just stay in the game, stop getting hurt. Judy against Baltimore will be tough. Obviously, with them playing behind, so the game plan was probably Flacco to throw 80 times. But their defense should be a lot better this week, I would think, versus Cleveland. Then Chase Brown, I think that's a good matchup for him against Jacksonville. It wouldn't be any shock if he were to score. And then actually, I say the same thing with Chuba as well. Um, Tucker Kraft, okay, versus Washington tomorrow. He did score versus Detroit. So he's kind of, I guess, emerged, we'll say for now, as a red zone threat. And then Keon Coleman, um, I don't think that's a bad flex play with how he played last week versus the Ravens. So not bad. Carlson's still reliable. I do like Baltimore's defense this week versus Cleveland. Obviously, some good defensive pieces here. And then obviously we have Worthy out. Mason could start to get interesting. He did take the bulk of the carries. I think Baker, that's a tough one to bench. Um, I expect that game to low key be a shootout. But the Dak and CD stack is kind of hard to pass up on as well. And then McGill, has got Lamar versus Cleveland. It is a division game. Um, I just think that, he'll play. They obviously need to bounce back. Um, Devontae versus Tennessee's a good matchup. I do still think Puka will outscore him, but Ted McMillan, he's projected 14 damn versus Arizona. We got Zay again, so another stack. CMC versus the Saints. I do like that. And then Taylor versus Denver will be tough, I think, for him. Then we have Kincaid versus the Jets. Monty, I think a bounce back game. I think he finally scores this week. They get an offensive rhythm going. Arizona's defense versus Carolina. Kyle Hamilton's been playing really good. Obviously, we got Derwin, Zaire, Sherwood, some good bench pieces as well. I this is a tough one because I do like CD Puka. We got Chase Brown. But McGill's got Lamar. Those running backs. We do need to see another week of Zay Flowers, I think. I'm going McGill though. I'm going McGill. Guts telling me McGill, so that's where I'm rolling. So I got McGill going here. Andrew versus McGill. We're going with Team McGill here. Trust the process. Okay. So that's our last matchup. So that's the week 2 prediction. Uh, good game tomorrow, Green Bay versus Washington. Um, I think we only got two 1-0 teams playing each other this week. So we'll see who comes out as the lone. I don't know. Never mind, because there's still other 1-0 teams, obviously, but two 1-0s, obviously one of you are going to lose. So good luck to everyone this week. We'll check back. The standings change at all going into week 3. But good Thursday night game tomorrow, so should be a start to a good week.